There's a moment that comes to every person who decides they want more from their money. A quiet, private moment when they sit down, stare at a screen or a piece of paper, and think about investing. Maybe it's after reading a news article about someone who made millions in the stock market. Maybe it's after watching a friend buy a new car with dividend income. Maybe it's just the slow, creeping realization that leaving money in a savings account is the financial equivalent of letting it rot. But here's what most people don't realize in that moment. The decision to invest isn't primarily about money. It's about you. It's about who you are when no one is watching, when the market drops 20% in a week, when your neighbor brags about a stock that doubled while yours is flat. It's about your temperament, your patience, your ability to sit still when every instinct screams at you to do something, anything. Charlie Munger understood this better than almost anyone. He wasn't just a brilliant investor, he was a student of human nature, and he knew that the biggest obstacle between most people and wealth isn't lack of opportunity or information. It's themselves, their own psychology, their own inability to see clearly, to wait patiently, to act rationally when everyone around them is losing their minds. Munger spent decades watching people make the same mistakes over and over. He saw brilliant people destroy their portfolios with a single impulsive decision. He saw disciplined people build fortunes by simply avoiding stupidity. And through it all, he came to a conclusion that should be tattooed on the forehead of every aspiring investor. Before you put a single dollar into the market, you need to understand your own psychology. You need to know your weaknesses, your biases, your breaking points, because the market will find them, and it will exploit them. Let me tell you what Munger knew that most people refuse to accept. Investing is not a game of intelligence. It's a game of temperament. You don't need to be a genius to build wealth. You need to be patient. You need to be rational. You need to be able to control your emotions when everything around you is chaos. And most people, if they're honest with themselves, can't do that. Think about it. How many times have you made a decision based on fear? How many times have you acted because everyone else was acting? Because you didn't want to be left behind? Because the pain of missing out felt worse than the risk of losing money? How many times have you sold something at the worst possible moment simply because you couldn't stand the uncertainty anymore? This isn't a moral failing. It's human nature. We're wired to seek safety, to follow the crowd, to react quickly to threats. These instincts kept our ancestors alive on the savannah, but in the world of investing, these same instincts destroy wealth. The market is designed almost perfectly to trigger every psychological weakness we have. It rewards patience in a world that demands instant gratification. It rewards rationality in a world driven by emotion. It rewards independence in a world that pressures us to conform. Munger called this the psychology of human misjudgment, and he believed it was the most important subject an investor could study. Not balance sheets, not economic theory, not technical analysis, psychology. Because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't understand yourself, if you don't know how you'll react when your portfolio drops 30%, or when your friend makes more money than you, or when a talking head on television tells you the world is ending, then that knowledge is worthless. So what do you need to understand about yourself before you invest? Let's start with the most fundamental question. Why are you investing in the first place? This sounds simple, but most people can't answer it clearly. They say things like, I want to make money, or I want to retire early, or I want financial freedom. But these aren't real answers. They're vague aspirations, and vague aspirations lead to confused decisions, which lead to bad outcomes. Munger would tell you to get specific, not just about your goals, but about your reasons. Are you investing because you genuinely want to build long-term wealth, or are you investing because you're afraid of being left behind? Are you doing it because you've thought carefully about your future, or because you saw someone on social media living a life you envy? Are you investing with money you can afford to lose, or are you gambling with money you need for rent next month? These questions matter because they reveal your true motivations, and your motivations determine your behavior. If you're investing out of fear or envy or desperation, you're going to make emotional decisions. You're going to chase returns. You're going to panic when things go wrong. You're going to be the person who buys high and sells low, who jumps from strategy to strategy, who ends up worse off than if you'd done nothing at all. But if you're investing with a clear purpose, if you know exactly why you're doing this, what you're trying to achieve, and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there, then you have a foundation. You have something to anchor yourself to when the storms come, and the storms will come. The second thing you need to understand about yourself is your relationship with risk. Not your theoretical relationship with risk, where you imagine yourself as a calm, rational decision maker. Your actual relationship with risk, revealed by your behavior when real money is on the line. Here's a test Munger might have appreciated. Imagine you invest $10,000 in a stock. A month later, it's worth $8,000. How do you feel? Be honest. Do you feel a mild sense of concern, or does your stomach drop? Do you think this is normal volatility, or do you lie awake at night wondering if you've made a terrible mistake? Do you see the drop as an opportunity to buy more, or do you immediately start researching how to sell? Your answer to this question tells you something crucial about your risk tolerance. And here's the thing, there's no right answer. Some people can watch their portfolio drop 50% and sleep like babies. Other people lose sleep over a 5% decline. Neither is better or worse. They're just different temperaments. But if you don't know which type you are, if you think you're the first type but you're actually the second, you're going to build a portfolio that's completely wrong for you. Munger invested in a way that matched his temperament. He was willing to hold concentrated positions in businesses he understood deeply. He was willing to wait years for the right opportunity. He was willing to look foolish in the short term if he believed he was right in the long term. But that approach worked for him because he knew himself. He knew he could handle the volatility. He knew he wouldn't panic. He knew he could sit still. Most people can't. And that's fine, but you need to know that about yourself before you invest like Munger, or like Warren Buffett, or like anyone else whose strategy requires a temperament you don't have. Because if you try to force yourself into an investing style that doesn't match who you are, you'll fail. You'll abandon the strategy at the worst possible time. You'll make the mistakes you were trying to avoid. The third thing you need to understand is your relationship with time. Specifically, how patient you really are, not how patient you think you are, or how patient you wish you were, how patient you actually are, measured by your actions. Munger was famous for saying that the first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. But compounding requires time. It requires years, even decades, of doing nothing, of letting your investments grow without touching them, without tinkering, without trying to optimize every little thing. It requires you to accept that most of the time, the best action is no action at all. Can you do that? Can you buy something and hold it for 10 years without checking the price every day? Can you ignore the news, the market swings, the hot tips from friends? Can you resist the urge to do something when your portfolio is flat for 2 years while everything else seems to be going up? Most people can't. We live in a world that worships action. We're taught that success comes from hustling, from making things happen, from staying busy. But in investing, that mindset is poison. The most successful investors are often the ones who do the least. They make a few good decisions, and then they wait. They let time do the heavy lifting. They understand that patience isn't passive. It's one of the most active, difficult, valuable things you can do. If you're someone who needs constant stimulation, who gets bored easily, who feels anxious when you're not actively managing something, then you need to build that into your investment strategy. Maybe you need a small portion of your portfolio for active trading, just to scratch that itch, while the bulk of your money sits in boring, long-term investments. Maybe you need to find other outlets for that energy, so you're not tempted to meddle with your investments. The point is, you need to know this about yourself and plan accordingly. The fourth thing, and this is where most people fail, is understanding your relationship with mistakes, because you're going to make them. Everyone does. Munger made them. Buffett made them. Every successful investor has a graveyard of bad decisions behind them. The question isn't whether you'll make mistakes. It's how you'll respond when you do. Some people make a mistake and learn from it. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and move forward. Other people make a mistake and spiral. They beat themselves up. They lose confidence. They either become paralyzed with fear or they double down on risky behavior to try to make back what they lost. They let one bad decision turn into a series of bad decisions. Which type are you? When you fail at something, anything, not just investing, how do you react? Do you treat it as information, or do you treat it as a judgment on your worth as a person? Do you get curious about what went wrong, or do you just feel shame and want to forget about it? This matters because investing will test you. It will expose your weaknesses. And if you can't handle that, if you can't look at your mistakes with honesty and objectivity, then you're going to keep making the same errors over and over. You're going to be the person who blames the market, or bad luck, or someone else, instead of taking responsibility and improving. Munger was ruthless with himself. He collected his mistakes like specimens, studied them, learned from them. He didn't pretend to be perfect. He knew he was capable of stupidity, and that awareness made him better. It made him more careful. It made him more humble. And that humility, paradoxically, made him more successful. The fifth thing you need to understand is your relationship with other people's opinions, because in investing, you're going to be surrounded by noise. Friends will tell you about stocks they're buying. Family members will question your decisions. The media will bombard you with predictions and warnings and hot takes. Social media will show you people making money in ways you don't understand, living lives that make yours look small. How do you handle that? Can you ignore it? Can you stick to your plan when everyone around you thinks you're wrong? Can you watch other people make money in ways you consider foolish without feeling like you're missing out? This is harder than it sounds. We're social creatures. We care what other people think. We want to fit in. We want to be respected. And the market exploits this. It creates situations where doing the smart thing makes you look stupid, and doing the stupid thing makes you look smart, at least in the short term. Munger succeeded in part because he genuinely didn't care what most people thought. He wasn't investing to impress anyone. He wasn't trying to beat the market every quarter to prove something. He was trying to build wealth over decades, and he was willing to look foolish along the way if that's what it took. He had the intellectual independence to go his own way, even when it was lonely. Do you? Or are you the type of person who needs validation, who needs to feel like they're part of the winning team, who can't stand being the only one doing something different? There's no shame in being that type of person. Most people are. But if that's who you are, you need to structure your investments in a way that accounts for it. Maybe you need to invest in index funds that track the market so you never feel left behind. Maybe you need to find a community of like-minded investors who share your philosophy. The point is, you can't fight your nature. You can only work with it. The final thing you need to understand is your relationship with money itself. What does money mean to you? Is it security, freedom, status, power, a way to keep score? This isn't a trivial question. Your deep beliefs about money shape every decision you make. If money represents security to you, you're going to be risk-averse. You're going to prioritize preservation over growth. If money represents freedom, you might be willing to take bigger risks to achieve independence faster. If money is about status, you're going to be tempted to make decisions based on how they look to others, rather than whether they make financial sense. Munger understood that money was a tool, not a goal. He famously lived below his means, drove modest cars, avoided conspicuous consumption. He didn't need money to validate himself. He needed it to have independence, to have the freedom to think clearly and make decisions without external pressure. That clarity of purpose shaped everything he did. What's your purpose? Why do you want more money? And I mean really want it, not the surface-level answer you give at parties. Because if you don't know, if you're just chasing a vague idea of more, you're never going to be satisfied. You're going to keep moving the goalposts. You're going to make decisions based on fear or greed rather than purpose. You're going to end up rich and miserable, or poor and bitter, wondering where it all went wrong. Here's the truth that Munger understood, and most people don't. Investing isn't really about money. It's about who you become in the process. It's about developing patience in a world that rewards impulsiveness. It's about staying rational when everyone around you is losing their minds. It's about having the courage to be independent, the humility to admit mistakes, the discipline to stick to a plan even when it's boring or difficult or lonely. The money is just the scoreboard. The real game is psychological. It's about mastering yourself, your fears, your biases, your impulses, and that's why most people fail. Not because they don't have access to information, not because they're not smart enough, but because they never do the hard work of understanding themselves. They jump into investing with the same lack of self-awareness they bring to every other area of their lives, and they wonder why they keep making the same mistakes. So before you invest another dollar, sit down and get honest with yourself. Ask the hard questions. Why am I really doing this? How do I react to loss? How patient am I actually? How do I handle mistakes? Can I ignore other people's opinions? What does money mean to me? The answers might be uncomfortable. You might not like what you discover about yourself, but that discomfort is valuable. It's information. It's the foundation you need to build an investment strategy that actually works for you, not for some idealized version of yourself that doesn't exist. Because here's what Munger knew. You can't change human nature. You can't suddenly become a different person just because you want to be a better investor. But you can understand yourself well enough to work with your nature instead of against it. You can build guardrails. You can create systems. You can choose strategies that match your temperament rather than fighting it. That's the real secret, not some magic formula or insider knowledge. Just brutal self-honesty and the wisdom to act accordingly. It's not sexy, it's not exciting, but it works. And in the end, that's all that matters. My own take on this, after years of watching people invest, some successfully, most not, is that Munger was pointing to something even deeper than investment strategy. He was talking about self-knowledge as the foundation of any meaningful endeavor. We live in a world that constantly tells us to look outward, to the markets, to the experts, to the trends. But the real work is always internal. It's always about understanding the person making the decisions, because that person is the biggest variable in the equation. I've seen people with modest intelligence and deep self-awareness build substantial wealth. I've seen brilliant people with no self-awareness destroy everything they touch. The difference isn't IQ or education or opportunity. It's the willingness to look in the mirror and see clearly, to admit limitations, to work with reality instead of fantasy. And that's uncomfortable. It's easier to blame the market or bad luck or someone else. It's easier to keep chasing the next hot stock or strategy, convincing yourself that this time will be different. But it never is. Not until you change. Not until you do the hard, unglamorous work of understanding yourself. That's what Munger was really saying. Before you invest, understand yourself. Not because it's morally virtuous or philosophically interesting, but because it's the only thing that actually works. Everything else is just noise.